I woke up with a terrible pit in my stomach and checked YouTube Studio. When the page refreshed, my phone nearly fell out of my hand. Overnight, I had lost almost 4,000 subscribers. My channel was in free fall, and I had no idea what to do. On January 1st of this year, I started uploading videos to my YouTube channel. 4 months later, I had over 100,000 subscribers and received my silver play button. A few months after that, I built up my savings enough to quit my job and take a shot at becoming a full-time content creator. It was a dream come true. Okay. My channel has been so successful, it's hard to believe that only a few months ago, I was losing thousands of subscribers every day. First, I lost 4,000. The next day, 3,000 more. Then another 2,000. Every day, I would lose more and more subscribers. A few months back, I lost my cool on a live stream and told Kane Carter to burn in hell. I issued an apology video, which you can view here for more details on everything leading up to this. And while the majority of the community was incredibly supportive, there was a segment who made their displeasure with me readily apparent. They'd mock me and ask if I was going to sell my channel. If one of my videos ever underperformed, I'd get comments like, "Wow, Theft King really fell off." Some even went as far as to suggest that I'd take my own life. My friends and family were really worried about me. As I detailed in my recent Theft King Exposed video, I'm a recovering heroin addict, and I only had 6 months sober when all of this went down. I credit starting my YouTube channel and making videos as one of the things that saved my life from a drug addiction that certainly would have killed me, yet now everything was falling apart. My parents saw the criticism I was receiving and they feared I would relapse and shoot heroin again. Honestly, I was worried I would too. Instead, I worked. I'd work as hard as I could and release videos covering Five Nights at Freddy's speedruns or SpongeBob fan games, but when I did, I'd lose even more subs. The comments would be full of people criticizing me and my content, and all of this over Five Nights at Freddy's videos. It certainly wasn't an enviable position to be in. At the same time this was happening, a lot of people I considered close friends no longer wanted to talk to me. Some even started saying some really awful things about me, which obviously really hurt and exacerbated everything that was going on. People who had previously been so kind to me when things were going well up and disappeared. Someone I considered a friend secretly made a Theft King Exposed video and spammed it to everyone in my Discord. That sucked. I was losing thousands of subscribers every day, and it became clear that there wasn't anything I could do or say that would immediately fix everything. Talk is cheap, and only actions could demonstrate that I wasn't the person that some were accusing me of being. In the end, I had two options: give up in despair or move forward and make more videos. I chose the latter, and I made a lot of videos. Creating content was probably the only reason I kept everything together during that period. I'd just tune out and work as hard as I could. Probably too hard. Sometimes I'd sit down for 18 hours straight, editing an entire 30-minute video in a single sitting. I stopped looking at Twitter entirely. I was afraid to read the comments on my own videos, worried that it'd demotivate me to the point that I'd just give up. Things escalated to the point where the criticism turned to personal insults. People started insulting me rather than my content. In fact, another content creator insinuated that I was a pedophile simply because I'd collaborated with other FNAF YouTubers, many of whom are in their late teens. That was particularly hurtful because the content creator was someone who I'd looked up to and actually someone who had inspired me to start my channel in the first place. Actually, MatPat's over 5 years older than me. Come on, guys. Drowning myself in editing videos had its downsides. I was exhausted all the time, and my sleep schedule was completely ruined. I just didn't know what else to do. It felt like the only thing I could do. Things got pretty rough for a while. It was reasonable for people not to want to associate someone embroiled in controversy, especially in regards to my content creator friends. However, I'd seen some of the people who I'd considered precious friends speaking ill of me, and it really hurt. It's one thing to lose a friend, but it's another thing entirely when that friend turns around and suggests that you were never a good friend. I know I'm not perfect and I let people down, but I'm confident that prior to that, I'd always been the best friend that I could be. Seeing former friends speak poorly of me was especially painful because it's evidence that my best obviously just wasn't good enough. None of the videos I released in this period performed especially well, and both my friends and critics alike attributed this drop in views to the same controversy that led to my subscriber loss. I fundamentally disagree though, and I actually think that that's a really dangerous line of thinking. It would have been really easy to say, oh, these are great videos I'm making, the only reason they aren't getting views is because of drama, but that's a losing mindset. That's surrendering yourself to an algorithm, and there's no way I was gonna do that. I'd already surrendered to the fact that I couldn't stop people from unsubscribing. That was their right. I'd already accepted that I couldn't make any of my former associates forgive me or see things my way, and that some of them would never forgive me. If I could have compelled people to accept my apology, I would have, but I can't. However, I was not going to blame my video's performance on anything but the videos themselves. Good videos will get views, and I decided that if these videos didn't perform as well as others, it's because they weren't as good. I decided I needed to work even harder. Unfortunately, I was still losing hundreds of subscribers every day, and when I released a video, I'd lose even more. People would see the notification and say, "Oh crap, I'm still subbed to that jerk," then click the button and unsub. This was obviously incredibly demotivating. I'd finish a 12-hour editing session, slaving away to make the best video I could, only for the comments to be flooded by people who had apparently clicked the thumbnail for the sole purpose of putting me down. I made a meme video where I modded the Doom shotgun into FNAF 1 and sang a parody of It's Been So Long, and even that got criticized.
Really wish that I had brought my shotgun.
Bite of 87?
I remember one person telling me that the thumbnail was misleading because I used FNAF AR renders in a FNAF 1 video. The whole situation sucked. Something even worse happened though. It was private at the time, but someone I trusted blackmailed me with evidence of my prior heroin addiction. They demanded that I pay them $10,000 or they would release evidence of an arrest for possession of a hypodermic instrument and possession of a controlled substance, which was heroin. Instead of being held captive by blackmail, I made the choice to come clean about my past on my own terms in my Theft King Exposed video, where I go into details about my struggles with drugs and in particular heroin. Here's a link to that video if you want to check it out. While I had been compelled to make the video against my will, it was met with tremendous support from the community. I was overwhelmed. There were, of course, many comments mocking my addiction and lamenting the fact that I hadn't fatally overdosed when I was using heroin. Of course, it's hard not to focus on the negative stuff, even if it's just a minority and even if it is bullshit. The evidence seems to suggest that some people were still just looking for any reason to criticize me, even at no gain to themselves. One content creator started a false narrative that I had somehow compared doing heroin to being Springtrap, which makes no sense. I think it's based on this background footage I used during the video at one point. The pain, the puking, the sweating, the crying. You have to force yourself to eat bread and drink water, mostly so that you at least have something to throw up instead of dry heaving for hours and hours on end. Ironically, it also ignores this other background footage from earlier where I explicitly say I'm just trying to lighten the mood with this footage. This was someone who I had entrusted this information to before I was blackmailed, so it was especially upsetting. Unfortunately, this tweet continued to spread misinformation, and it became a mini controversy that I had somehow compared being addicted to heroin to being Springtrap, which I never did. One tweet in particular really upset me. Theft King comparing fucking heroin to Springtrap is truly sickening as someone who's had a member literally almost die to it. Sonata, I apologize that you were led to believe that I had somehow made that comparison, and I empathize with your family member's struggles with heroin. I once woke up next to a friend of mine only to find that they died of respiratory depression in the middle of the night, having overdosed on heroin. I understand what a harrowing experience that can be. However, every addict deals with the trauma of their addiction in different ways. I think I defend myself from my harrowing experiences with humor because I don't really want to face them seriously, if that makes any sense. Regardless, I'm glad that your family member is still with you. Make sure they know you're glad that they're there too. Unfortunately, there were other issues related to my recovery. For the last few months, I've been getting buprenorphine shots in my belly. They basically injected gel under my skin. It solidifies into what's called a depot and then slowly dissolves over about 6 weeks. As long as that medicine is in me, I basically can't relapse. Even if I bought heroin, it wouldn't do anything, and I believe it saved my life. It's a very cool medication, but there's two downsides. One, it's really expensive. I'm only able to afford it because of the success of my YouTube channel. On top of that, the shot is excruciatingly painful. The needle is huge, and it's injected under the skin in your belly, so it burns like crazy as the doctor pushes it in. It keeps stinging and burning for a minute or two afterwards, but then it basically stops. My abdomen is a little sore for a day, but that's it usually. Shortly before my controversy, I went to get my 7th shot, but as the doctor was injecting it into me, something felt really wrong. Specifically, the shot hurt way more than it normally does, which is already very painful. Then, when my doctor pulled the needle out, he seemed very concerned and started grabbing all this gauze and all these extra bandages and stuff. things he normally doesn't do. Sure enough, something went wrong, and the injection site on my stomach went on to burn and sting for the next 48 hours. The whole thing was excruciatingly painful, but it was also really depressing. I'd gotten this shot 6 times before, and it was never like this. Would this happen again? The reality is, most recovered addicts will relapse, and I'm lucky enough to have found a treatment that actually works for me. Now I was worrying that once a month there's a chance that it ends up being excruciatingly painful. It was really upsetting. I mentioned before that the shot is expensive. In August, my revenue dropped by about 50%, and I started to get concerned that I might not be able to afford the shot for much longer. I even started considering going off the shot entirely, which would have been a horrible decision. I'm not even a year sober yet, and the shot is working. Why would I stop it? The whole thing stressed me out like crazy, and honestly, combined with the harassment I had been getting on Twitter over my Five Nights at Freddy's videos, I think it was a big factor in why I lost my cool during that live stream. Thankfully, my channel had been really successful prior to August, so I had enough savings to continue to pay for the shot. In time, my videos started to do better. Juniors finally launched, and I absolutely adored the game. My livestream and video coverage performed really well, and finally, after over a straight month of losing subscribers every day, things finally started to turn around. I played through Case Animatronics 1 and made a video that went on to do extremely well. For the first time in weeks, my subscriber count was going up again. My channel was growing. While I had moved on, some people hadn't. I was continually harassed on Twitter, and they said some really awful things. I even later saw what I can only interpret as threats of violence against me. That also sucked, obviously, but I did the only thing I could. I ignored it. I decided that while my critics were talking shit on Twitter, I would be working hard making videos. Not all of those videos were big hits, but I worked hard on them all, and I'm proud of them all. I was rebuilding my channel one video at a time, and I wasn't going to let myself be dragged back into drama. I focused on producing the best content I could, and I completely ignored all of these provocations. It's funny how things come full circle. MatPat is probably right was the video that put my channel on the map only a week or two after I started, so it was only fitting that MatPat would once again be my redemption. By the grace of game theory, I made my big comeback with Leave MatPat Alone. This video did incredibly well, but more importantly, it was a huge boost to my confidence. Next, Baddington dropped the trailer for his new FNAF VHS episode, and I decided now would be as good a time as any to make a FNAF VHS retrospective, which I'd always wanted to do. Inspired by Wendigoon's retrospective on Squimpus's original series, as well as his other videos, Wendigoon is my favorite YouTuber, I decided to try my hand at covering Baddington's series in my own style. The moment I started working on the video and pictured the thumbnail in my head, I knew it was going to be a hit. I was really proud of the video, and sure enough, people really enjoyed it. It gave me another huge boost to my confidence. It reassured me that if I worked hard and made videos that were good enough, lots of people would watch and enjoy them. It reaffirmed my belief that no, my views didn't drop because of drama or anything like that. It was because those videos weren't as good. They weren't as appealing to as many people. On the contrary though, it made me realize that my channel did so well because my videos were good and people enjoyed them. With my newfound confidence, I dropped my massive Walton Files retrospective, which again performed really well. Check it out if you haven't seen it. I'm really proud of it, and it may be my best video ever in my opinion. Things continued to improve. I was able to rekindle some of the friendships that I lost as a result of all the controversy. However, when things were really bad and people were telling me to delete my channel despite how much joy it brings me, it was tempting to just cave in. It was tempting to just stop uploading, stop videos, and disappear. Go back to work as a software developer. In ways that would have been a lot easier. However, I'm glad that I suffered through the experience I did because I think I've come out the other end stronger. Furthermore, there were a lot of people who did stick by me and never lost their faith in me, and I just want to thank those people. You guys know who you are. If there's one good thing that came from this, it's that I learned who my friends really are. I know who will stick by me in both the sunniest and darkest days. There were a depressing amount of people who acted like they were my close friends during my channel's initial popularity, only to abandon me and even start talking shit about me the moment they saw it as advantageous to do so. I was naive and fooled myself into thinking that these opportunists were actually my friends, when obviously they weren't. That sucked, of course, but it did help to highlight the true friends who continue to have my back. Drowning myself working helped me take my mind off things, but my friends were my real lifeline. I feel like I don't express how much I appreciate you guys enough, so thank you. I really couldn't have done this without you guys. We all do things we regret, and we all end up in regrettable situations. I certainly did. Sometimes you upset those closest to you, and despite your best efforts, you will not be forgiven. You can either accept it and move forward, or you can give in to despair. However, you can't expect anyone to forgive you if you haven't forgiven yourself. It was pretty stupid to tell that guy to burn in in hell, but I finally forgive myself for the consequences I experienced as a result of my actions. Most importantly though, never let your own regrets or your critics get in the way of doing the things that you love, because that's really stupid. Thanks for watching, and thank you so much for your support these past 9 months. I'm still really new to this whole FNAF Twitter drama nonsense, but I promise I'll keep working as hard as I can.